this video, I'm going to be using one cheesy snack to make another cheesy snack, like a kind of cheesy snack inception. Is this a terrible idea? Quite possibly. Keep watching till the end of the video to find out. Let's get adventurous. Cheezels. One of my favourite party snacks. Intensely cheesy, crunchy hoops made from rice and corn and stuff. I have many fond childhood memories of wandering around a party, eating Cheezels off the end of my fingers, as is the custom. Today I'm using these delightful cheesy snacks to make mac and cheese. If you don't have access to Cheezels, Cheetos are probably the closest substitution. Now obviously, in creating this dish, we're taking one snack food, concentrating it down and turning it into another snack food. The result is going to be extremely calorie dense and the levels of sodium are probably going to be through the roof. So this is definitely a sometimes food to be enjoyed in small quantities. And given the large amount of salt and calories, I'd advise staying well hydrated and maybe commit to going for a jog the following day. Because looking after your health is really important, especially if you're getting older. But then again, another thing that's really important as you're getting older is maintaining a sense of childlike whimsy. So let's put on the appropriate fingerwear and get started. I'm starting by putting some Cheezels into a tall container. Alternatively, you could do this in a food processor or blender. Apart from the Cheezels on my fingers, this is basically one whole box. This is quite a lot for this size container, so I'm breaking a few up to make sure that they all fit. In order to blend these into a smooth and creamy sauce, I'm going to use some evaporated milk. I'm choosing to use reduced fat milk for this because I enjoy the irony, but full fat would work just fine too. So I'm just going to open this can and, this might be a problem. Never mind, let's just cut to one that's already open. That's much better. Next, I'm going to use a stab mixer to try and crush these into a powder. Okay, this just appears to be making a mess. So I'll add some evaporated milk to see if that helps. Yes, that's looking much better. I'm blending this into a smooth paste, adding more milk as I go, until all the Cheezels have been blitzed into a really smooth paste. Now, Cheezels are really cheesy, but they're probably not cheesy enough to flavour themselves, and the evaporated milk, and the macaroni. So I'm boosting the cheesy flavour by adding about 1/4 cup of powdered parmesan. And this is looking extremely thick, so I'm adding a few splashes of milk to loosen things up, but I should still end up with a fairly thick paste-like consistency. And then I'm just giving this a quick taste to check the flavour, and oh yeah, that's cheesy. Concentrating them down like this really brings out the corn and rice flavour too. As you can see, this is a fairly thick and slightly grainy consistency, but when we mix this in with the hot macaroni and some of the pasta water, it should thin out to a nice and creamy, super cheesy sauce. To add a little bit of freshness, I'm adding some finely chopped fresh parsley. I'm adding around 2 cups of elbow macaroni to a cold saucepan, and to that I'm adding about 3 cups of cold water. This might seem a bit unusual, but it's actually the quickest way to cook pasta. Pasta actually starts cooking at around 82 degrees, so this way the pasta starts cooking as soon as it hits that temperature, and the overall cooking time is significantly reduced. Check out my other mac and cheese video for a more detailed explanation of how this works. I'm adding a large pinch of salt for seasoning. Again, the Cheezels are plenty salty enough to season themselves, but probably not enough to season themselves and the evaporated milk and the macaroni. As the pasta starts to approach cooking temperature, it can have a tendency to stick together, so I'm giving it an occasional stir to make sure that doesn't happen. Boil the pasta until it's cooked to your liking, remembering of course to stay hydrated, and then drain off most but not all of the water. It's also a good idea to keep a little bit of water aside to fine-tune the final texture of the dish in case the sauce is a bit too thick. As you can see beneath the pasta, I've still got a little bit of water left in the pan. And to this, I'm adding in all of my Cheezels sauce mix, with all of its cheesily goodness. I've still got this over a low heat to warm the sauce through, and as you can see, it does start quite thick and grainy. As it warms and mixes with the pasta water, it starts to thin out, and eventually, ooh yeah, that's formed a lovely creamy sauce with an oddly pleasing yet slightly unnatural shade of orange. I'll season this up with a little bit of freshly ground black pepper and then add in the parsley. And the sensible thing to do would be to portion this out in 4 to 6 small servings, but I'm gonna put it all in one big bowl. And that looks and smells absolutely delicious. And finally, I'm crumbling my finger Cheezels over the top for a nice crunchy garnish. And that is how to make Cheezels mac and cheese. And it's absolutely spectacular. A little silly perhaps, but pretty spectacular. Let's see how it tastes. Now that it's cooked out, the sauce has become really smooth. It's got that big hit of Cheezels flavour. The flavour of the corn and the rice seems to have intensified as well, giving a really nice savoury background note. It's rich, it's delicious, it's creamy, it's crunchy. It's everything you could want in a snack and more. If you're into cheesy snacks, then check out the upcoming link to watch my video on how to make smooth and creamy mac and cheese out of absolutely any cheese you like. And until next time, happy snacking. Oh, so full. That's easily enough for about 6 serves. This is delicious, but it's definitely an entree, not a main.